Tuesday, slightly later than advertised. Here is the waiver wire for week 12. The article's gone up, but I'm going to also give you some additional names that will help you with your selections for this week. So going to get straight to it. I know it's a really busy week, 2 weeks away from the fantasy playoffs. Sometimes it's 1 week or 3 weeks, depending on the league settings you play in. But I know that this is a really important week, so want to just give you as much information as possible. There's going to be some other videos going out, as well as some additional tips and trick videos that might make the podcast version or not. It really sort of depends on editing, etc. But you can check them out on YouTube and on Twitter. So make sure that you are following those and picking up some additional tips and tricks, especially as you're trying to get into those playoffs. So follow all the content as well on 5 Yard Rush. The boys are doing a great job putting some great content out there to help you win some championships. It's nitty gritty time. It's time to really knuckle down and get those W's, get into those playoffs and win some ships. So let's start with the quarterbacks this week. Best options on the waiver wire start with Daniel Jones, 17.3% owned. He's got Cincy this week. That's very thin on the waiver wire. I've been saying that for a few weeks. Daniel Jones is, for me, got the best upside out there. He's coming off a bye, so he should be fresh. He's starting to get most of his weapons back. Of course, he doesn't have Saquon Barkley, but he's got Evan Ingram fit. He's got Sterling Shepard fit. He's got Darius Slayton fit. So he's got more weapons than some NFL teams. And the luxury of playing the Bengals this week is they're without Joe Burrow. So you're going to have a team who have got Ryan Finley under center. He's not played for a year. Probably not an NFL starter in the NFL in terms of caliber or skill. So that should give Danny Dimes plenty of possessions here to get the ball and to show what he can do. This Bengals defense, not amazing, not terrible, but certainly not an amazing defense. So, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over here, he should be good for a nice little push in terms of fantasy points this week. The other one is Kirk Cousins. He's 19.4% owned. He has Carolina this week. So Cousins, even though that he lost on Sunday to the Cowboys, he did throw for over 300 yards, 3 TDs, and no turnovers. And he finished as sort of the QB4, QB5 on the week for week 11. So hoping that he continues that run of form as they try and get those slim playoff hopes still alive as they play Carolina this week. So for the running backs, Frank Gore, he's 8.8% owned. He's got Miami this week. Doesn't look like P. Ryan is probably going to go at this stage. Things can change. You need to monitor that. Gore is in line for 15 to 20 touches this week if P. Ryan misses the game. So that's something to really watch out for. Other player to pick up is Tony Pollard, 21.7% owned. He has Washington this week, but he really is more of a handcuff play. This is the time of year that backs go down and suffer injuries. Dallas are playing for something every single week, so they're not going to rest Zeke unless the games are done. This could be a situation where if there is a blowout, Pollard does have standalone volume. He did have that last week and put up enough to put up an RB2, RB3 performance, and he could do exactly the same this week. But really, Pollard needs to be owned in more than 21% of leagues. A waiver wire own claim you should get, which came out really after the line came out and after the article came out, is Gus Edwards. So it looks like J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram are not going to play on Thursday night. So that, as a result, means that Gus Edwards becomes the number one waiver claim. He should be available in most leagues. So he's someone that you should be looking to pick up. With Rex Burkhead going down, we talked about this on the pod last night. Maybe James White has a little bit of value, but he's someone that I think is a potential sort of RB2, RB3 at best. I mean, I don't love his upside, but he might have a flaw that makes him relevant as well. So there are a couple more options that are available to you other than the ones that I've mentioned. Moving on to wide receivers. Wide receivers this week, Michael Pittman is the choice of them again. He hit last week with a touchdown, and he's becoming more and more like the number one there. And I think if Rivers wasn't carrying an injury late in that game, he would have had even more targets. So as a result, I think against Tennessee with the division on the line, I think Pittman's going to get more usage, and I think he's going to be far more relevant going forward. So I like him as a rest of the season play as well as also just a weekly stream play. I put in here Damari Bird, 0.9% owned. Here's Arizona. He had a career day. He's going to be very boom or bust, but he's shown 132 yards and a touchdown as his ceiling. So I think he would have finished I think he finishes the wide receiver. He's finished in the top 4 wide receivers this week. So he is someone who has that kind of ability in him, and it's someone that is basically an all-in play. If you're chasing desperation and high scores, he's someone that you need to be really considering. Other players that might be out there that are worth considering. Deebo Samuel looks like he might be back this week. He's owned in a lot more than 30% of leagues, so he's someone I would be interested in particular this week. Sterling Shepard is out there in a significant amount of leagues. He's someone I would be interested in this week, especially as a matchup. And also Jalen Reagor. He's another one. I'm not as keen on him as some of the other names, but again, if he's out there, some of these other names aren't. He's someone that you can definitely go with for this week. Moving with tight ends, and for me, I said this in last week's column, last week's podcast, Jordan Reed is the guy you got to own. 12.9% owned he is currently, so his ownership went up a tiny bit. You'd have gone very cheap last week if you could stash him. He's got the Rams this week, so it's a tough matchup, but it's one that they should come out throwing the 49ers, and I think that Jordan Reed has an opportunity here to lead all 49ers receivers in targets, receptions, yards, and potentially get in the touchdown column as well. So I like Jordan Reed. For me, he's the only tight end left on the waiver wire that's got, not a lot of ownership that's worth owning. For now till the rest of the season. I think he's startable, and I think he's a top 8 wide receiver tight end coming in for the rest of the season. Next one is Robert Tonyan. He's 29.8% owned. He's got Chicago this week, and his ownership has really dropped under that 30% threshold, but he did score a touchdown at the weekend. Give me the touchdown machine of the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers. Given the fact there's not a huge competition for targets, even though Alan Lazard is back, I really like and prefer Robert Tonyan over most options out there. So he's someone I would keep on a season-long basis as well. Kicker, Tyler Bass, 7.4% owned. Coming into this week, actually, he was the kicker 1. He had his bye, so he's fallen a little bit. But this game against the Chargers has the potential to be a shootout, which means Bass could yield some serious points, because they'll be requiring him to kick quite significantly. And with DST under 30%, I mean, this is tough again. This is people are really stashing their DSTs. I'd expect to see quite a lot dropped over the next 2 weeks. I mentioned Cleveland as a 2-week play. I would prefer them in this scenario. Also, Miami would be a good play this week. But however, if you're needing to start a DST, the Giants are it. They have a favorable matchup this week. They should have the ability to control Ryan Finley, get some turnovers, and really yield them. So I really like this as a play this week. If you are struggling for any other picks, the Arizona Cardinals isn't a bad pick this week either, given their matchup. So there are 2 matchups there that I quite like that you can exploit. So feel free to take advantage of those. That will do it for the Waiver Wire podcast this week. Hope you found this useful. Again, go back. There's more data in the articles that you can view. Also, the stream column will be out later on today, as well as also some additional tips, tricks, and hints to get you into the playoffs. So good luck for this week. Anything that we can do, feel free to let us know and get a hold of us on all the socials and reach us in the best way that you can. But until next week, Rush Nation, keep rushing.